This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Good morning, all. Welcome to DBL. You all doing well?
Yeah, how about you?
I'm doing well because someone I thought was guilty was charged. Shall we discuss?
All right.
Let's chat. As I'm sure you've heard, Alex Murdaugh was found guilty yesterday of killing his wife and his youngest son. The jury took less than 3 hours to deliberate and reach its verdict. Here was Alex's reaction to the guilty verdict.
In the term of 2022, July, the state versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, guilty verdict, signed by the forelady, 3/2/23.
Alex's remaining son, Buster, was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. He wiped his face and looked blankly ahead. This morning, Alex was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences for the crime without the possibility of parole. Alex Murdaugh was the patriarch of a 3-generation legal dynasty in South Carolina. This case got a ton of attention with multiple docuseries, TV shows, and live coverage of the trial. Let's talk about how we feel just about the decision. I was thrilled. I thought he was guilty from the start. I've been following this from the boat accident with his son. Too many lies, too many cover-ups, too much guiltiness around him, and he was right there at the kennels when they were shot. So I was happy. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I jumped on board.
Jeff, you've been following.
Yeah,
you
with
really
the Netflix. My wife watched it on Dateline like you, and she kind of got me up to speed. Then the Netflix thing came out, and I watched that. And then I started watching the trial live. But to me, there was no doubt he was guilty, especially when they put that video out during the trial. If you guys don't recall, they put a video out of him at the kennels minutes before the people were murdered. I could say not allegedly. They were murdered.
Murdered, right. Yeah.
After they were murdered. So he didn't know that video was out there, and that's what made him recant everything. And he's like, I guess I was there. And then he went back on everything. No expression from the guy. Like, I don't know what's happening in your head. And that, I mean, I don't know if Buster, if he's like involved. The remaining son, he's lost a father, and his father murdered his mom and brother.
Just say his family.
Yeah, it's like, it's just, wow, a lot.
I do. I feel bad for Buster. I really do.
Isn't he under some speculation or scrutiny?
There is something.
There is some with it. Let me just say this, and we're going to get to an attorney about this, but I wanted to just say the name Murdaugh means so much in that town that a lot of them, I feel, like got away with a lot.
There's some speculation if you watch a Netflix documentary of an accident that happened in the town.
That's right. That's right. All right. So to talk more about this guilty verdict, we are joined by former prosecutor and defense attorney. She does it all, Mari Henderson.
Hey, Mari.
Thank you for joining us, Mari.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So, Mari, there was not a lot of physical evidence in this case, and it seemed like most of it came down to this cell phone video that proved Alex was at the scene of the crime, as Al talked about earlier. So even though he lied and told police that he was not. So do you think that the jury made the right decision?
I do think the jury made the right decision, even though, as you said, there were no eyewitnesses. It's not a DNA case, no gunshot residue, fingerprints, things like that. This case came down to the video and the lies before and after that video. The fact that he was at the scene of the crime moments before the death, that says it all.
Yeah, Mari, thanks for being here. Sorry we rambled on a little bit, but I want to show you this video from one of the jurors about the trial and how quickly they reached their decision. Here's what one of the jurors told ABC News about it.
About 45 minutes later, after all our deliberating, we figured it out.
So it took basically 45 minutes for you guys to come to a decision?
Probably about 45, maybe an hour.
That's really fast.
Well, the evidence was clear.
So, Mari, my question to you is, how does that ever happen, 45 minutes to deliberate?
I mean, it does happen. What was surprising is not the 45 minutes to deliberate, but the fact that when they did the first poll in the deliberation room, which is the first thing they do, that 2 of the jurors had not guilty vote and 1 juror was undecided. So they were able to sway 3 of the jurors in just 45 minutes.
I mean, the speed at which this moved shocked me. The only thing that shocked me more was that he decided to defend himself in his trial. And the juror also spoke out about this. Here's his reaction to the testimony. Let's take a look.
What did you think when Alex Murdaugh took the stand?
I didn't think much of him.
Really?
Really. I didn't see any true remorse.
Even though he cried a lot on the stand.
He never cried.
All right, well, Mari, what do you think about Alex's decision to testify? Was it the wrong move, and did it end up ultimately sealing his fate?
It was absolutely the wrong move. Unless it is a self-defense case, you don't take the stand to testify. And the jurors found him not credible. In those 45 minutes that they swayed those 3 jurors, all they had to say was, but take a look at what happened when he took the stand. No one believed him. It was crocodile tears.
That's interesting. I also think it's interesting to address that Paul, the murdered son, if he hadn't made that Snapchat video, none of this would have happened. So he solved his own murder in a way, which is very insane to me. I've been following this very closely, as you've heard. There's police body cam footage from his son, who I was talking about, Paul's 2019 boating accident, where an officer says, in essence, they're talking, and one of the kids on the boat says, he's a Murdaugh. He's not going to jail. He's the law down here. Was that a factor for you, Mari, in this trial, the name Murdaugh?
What was a factor for me is everything that led up to the day of the deaths, including the boating accident, what happened. That 3 days after these murders, there was going to be a court hearing on this. That the day of the murders, everything came crashing down for Alex because it had just been revealed that he had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, it was millions. So he had a motive. He wanted to change the narrative to keep the family legacy.
Jeez. So the defense tried to get the judge to declare a mistrial, which he did not, and will likely appeal his conviction. So what are his chances of overturning the conviction?
I think the chances of overturning the conviction are slim to none here. The judge followed the rules of evidence very closely. He was very even-tempered and measured throughout, including in his rulings. And it was surprising when the judge showed what he thought yesterday immediately after the verdict. He basically said he found him not credible, and then he said even more so today before the sentencing.
So, Mari, you mentioned earlier, Alex is still facing nearly 100 counts of various forms of financial fraud. I believe it's 99. He admitted on the stand to stealing millions from his clients, his friends, his law firm. What's going to happen with those trials, and what's going to happen with the remaining son? I know they're going to have to liquidate a lot of their properties and things like that, but does he have any money left for himself?
I mean, my question is whether the son or any member of the family is going to try to profit off of these terrible crimes by, writing a book or doing something, and whether any other remaining members of the family will fight against it and try to stop the proceeds. Because typically that's what happens, is victims will step in and say, no, the defendant cannot profit off the crime, but here it's the family members. So we'll see whether they can profit off to try to pay off everything that has happened.
Jeez Louise.
That was my first thought. Write a book.
Right. And now
Sadly.
he's going to jail where he put so many people as a lawyer in that town too. I wonder if he's going into protective custody. Mari, thank you so much for joining us on DBL. We really appreciate your insight on this case. Fascinating. Coming up on DBL, that's our name of our show. We're talking about another big trial. Oscar Pistorius, who was convicted of killing his girlfriend 10 years ago, why he could be released from jail early. And our interview with Garcelle Beauvais. She's telling us all about her latest project that's bringing awareness to Black women and girls who go missing.
Somebody roll the clip.
Let's make sure we have Jeff's sex tape.
Wow, things are getting spicy here at DBL.
Cold-hearted snake, look into his eyes.
Let's roll that again, everybody.
Okay, I also just want to say that Buster, people are writing in, I feel bad about Buster. And remember, Buster also took his father's side. He testified in the defense of his dad. So Buster...
That's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, what are you
Is it? I read a lot of Datelines where they're like, my dad definitely did this, and you support your dead mother.
That is... Yeah.
I mean, that's your mom and your brother, and it's something...
Yeah, but I think in his mind, you almost come to a conclusion that could never happen, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to be like, there's no way my dad did this.
Also, he's the only person that's alive in your immediate family that's left. You know, I mean,
and if he's telling
But
you
if
like,
you
I
thought
didn't
he
do
shot
this,
your
son,
mom,
you know?
you would do you would testify?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I
But I
couldn't.
could see how somebody that,
Trauma,
especially like the way these you know, it's probably very patriarchal there, so I'm sure it's
Very,
like,
yeah.
hey, daddy said he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's,
The defense was really, the prosecution at the end, their closing statement, started to be somewhat graphic about it, but it's important to hear that. He shot his son first, they said, and then they said his mother heard the shot. I think he was shot twice, the son, am I right? And then the mother went running.
He had 2 guns though.
Right, he had a shotgun and a different gun, and the mother went running to the cries of her son, and as she came towards him, he then shot his wife. And so it's important to hear how graphic that is, to hear like, this isn't just a story we're telling that's like a Netflix, this is like real human lives.
Why he didn't go with the angle of, and Jeff, I don't know if you thought about this, he established that I'm an opioid
Oh, it
addict.
wasn't the opposite.
To at least go with the temporary insanity, I don't remember anything I was on drugs angle.
Well, they went there. They said
did.
this guy, this isn't the man who murdered these people. The guy on opioids murdered these people.
Right.
They kind of
But
use
they're
that
saying like
angle.
there's a physiological, like he literally was out of his mind. Almost the way like you
That's a good, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Welcome back to DBL. Oscar Pistorius, remember him, could be released from jail after serving just half his sentence. Let me take you back. If you recall, the disgraced para-Olympian, also known sometimes as Blade Runner, was sentenced to more than 13 years in jail for murder. So back in 2013, Pistorius fired 4 shots into the bathroom of his home in South Africa, killing his reality TV star girlfriend named Riva Steenkamp. Now, believe it or not, Pistorius isn't getting any sort of special treatment. In fact, almost all inmates become eligible for parole after serving only half their sentences in South Africa. Is this fair? Is that not fair? What do we think about this? And I just, for some context, there was a lot more gun violence and fear of interference of robbery that I think people give credit to. This isn't a black and white case, in my legal opinion, that's fake.
I don't think that it's of any service to anyone to try to relitigate the case after 10 years, but I do think that we all know, at least at the state level, that a lot of people are eligible for parole at about the halfway mark, unless it's a federal case.
Right.
I think it's like 80 to 85% or something like that. Yeah, so I mean, this was a tragic story. I don't know how. I remember like covering this story in like my past life, and just thinking about like how senseless this was, regardless of, you know, how it actually came down, which I don't know if we'll ever know.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because now if he did his time, the court had their say.
Right.
They got it right.
Right.
You know, do you abide by the law? And like, he's done his time now.
Right.
He's a free man, and let him live his life. Is that, as a society, even though this is South Africa, as a society, that's what we should do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, people always do like a second chance, and he's got kind of the markers that would give somebody a second chance, former Olympian. It's a little murky what happened. It's not as clear-cut as the case that we just talked about. So I do think that there's always a pathway for him to come back. He was also super famous.
So famous.
And dated. He was internationally famous.
And in South Africa, like the biggest.
And there will be, you know, a clamoring around the world to hear from him. And so I do think that there is, Eric, you talk about comebacks. Whether he deserves it or not, I think there's a pathway just because people care. They want to hear what he had to say about what happened and what he's going to do in his future.
Yeah. People also think he's a murderer.
Right, and you think about Riva, her family, her legacy, you know, that's, I don't know, I just feel, it just makes me feel uncomfortable, because it's like a woman lost her life.
I think about Riva a lot,
And there's a lot of things that came out that apparently were substantiated about the nature of their relationship.
Absolutely.
Like, this whole thing makes it super uncomfortable. I'm not interested in hearing from him, but I can understand the interest.
Yeah, and may I just say, she was a very multifaceted. She wasn't just a reality TV star. She was really well-educated, really interesting, and may she rest in peace. Coming up on DBL, our interview with Real Housewife and actress Garcelle Beauvais.
That top.
I know. She's telling us all about her new movie that has a very, very important message, so stay tuned, y'all.
For many of us, it's like clockwork, getting up in the morning and putting on a smartwatch. Besides just telling the time, they can help you stay connected, stay active, and supposedly even keep your heart healthy too. So how well do smartwatches work in measuring cardiac activity? Let's verify. Our sources are the FDA, popular smartwatch manufacturers, and the doctors at Johns Hopkins Digital Health Lab.
Here.
Okay. Where Dr. Francoise Marvel is really charged up.
I've been a big believer since they first came out.
Along with her colleague, Dr. Chang Kim.
We have 3 types of devices here.
They are finding smartwatches, phones, and even blood pressure monitors can help people stay in touch with their own health.
It's able to detect certain signals, whether it's your heart rate that might be too low or might be too high, or it might be an irregular heart rate.
When worn properly, flush against the skin but not too tight, they say the technology is quite accurate. The FDA has approved heart health tracking technology on the Apple Watch and Fitbit.
Watches also have the ability to actually capture an ECG that actually shows the electrical waveforms of heart rhythm.
Tracking exercise and movement is one step.
Fitness is really a cornerstone of a heart-healthy life.
But the doctors hope they can work with this technology to bring important medical resources within reach.
If a patient has a diagnosis of high blood pressure, there are ways that we can use our smartwatch and our smartphone to help keep track of those blood pressures, remind them about medications to help control their blood pressures, and even give them tips about what diet is best.
People living with heart conditions or after cardiac emergencies are often prescribed cardiac rehab, where they can essentially work out under medical supervision. But the researchers say the commitment is a big hurdle for a majority of patients. That's why Johns Hopkins is currently studying best ways to use smartwatch technology to bolster cardiac rehab.
My daughter has been missing for 16 days. And ever since, I've been living every parent's nightmare.
Welcome back. That was Garcelle Beauvais in her new movie, Black Girl Missing. It's about a very real issue in our society, how so many women of color go missing and the media and the police do nothing about it. Earlier, we spoke with her all about it. Check out this very important interview.
Please welcome Garcelle Beauvais.
Thank you for having me. First of all, you guys, I am riveted by everything you say, all your opinions. It's so good.
Thank you, Garcelle.
Garcelle, thank you for being here. That clip was very moving that we just saw, and we know that in the movie, your daughter goes missing. But what else is this movie really about?
You know, this movie is really about the disparity of when Black and brown people go missing. You know, we don't know, we don't get the recognition, we don't get the viewership, we don't get, you know, the media, the police doesn't take us seriously. It's either we're considered a runaway or they're asked us if we're on drugs, if we're doing this, if we're doing that. And that's what this movie's about, is making sure that people who may not even be aware that when brown and Black people go missing, it's important that they get the visibility that everybody gets. I mean, we can all say we know that JonBenet Ramsey, Natalie Holloway, Gabby Petito, but how many of us can say a Black person who's gone missing?
Right. Mm-hmm. You know, hi, Garcelle. You know,
hi. And you looked great at NAACP.
Yeah, you did. Oh, thank you. That means so much coming from you. But okay, so you worked with Black and Missing Foundation. Shout out to Natalie and Derica. They do amazing work. We've had them on this show. I've had them on my podcast. So you worked for that, or worked with them for this movie. How did their involvement shape the story?
I mean, it shaped the story in so many ways because, first of all, I wasn't even aware that there were resources like what Black and Missing Foundation does. So it just brings you aware. Also, it's not just young girls and young boys. It's older women, older men. It's across the board. And having a place where they can go to where these families can feel seen and feel like someone is out there who cares for them, I think they're tremendous.
That makes sense. I listen to a lot of true crime, and I get this whole thing of, like, you can see JonBenet, the white, blue-eyed kid, and you just never hear. We're getting more and more of that. Black Girl Missing is inspired, of course, by true stories of missing women of color. Yeah. But my question to you, Garcelle, is why? Is it simply racism? Is it bigoted in the media that we just want to show vanilla and we don't want to show anyone other than that? Is that what you think?
I think it's systemic. I really do. I think this has been going on forever. I mean, I think we are, I mean, listen, before, Black Lives Matter, I felt like we were screaming at the top of our lungs, see us, hear us.
Right.
And I think that falls into that as well. And we're sort of go under the radar if we go missing. We make up 17% of this country, and 40% of us go missing and no one does anything.
Wow.
Like, that's staggering.
Yeah.
Well, what I hope that your movie does is I hope, and I believe it will, is it's really going to teach people to check their privileges. So what's the biggest takeaway you want viewers to get from watching?
One, I want them to see how it works and what happens, but I also want them to sort of take charge. If you know somebody's missing in your community and you don't hear about it, go to your local television station saying, why aren't you highlighting this? And I'm hoping that the next file that comes across a police officer's desk, they might give it a little bit more attention.
Wow.
And just bringing awareness to the disparity.
Other than the disparities of missing persons cases, the movie touches on racial biases of people of color on a daily basis. Did any of these scenes really hit you, really hit close to home?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was easy for me to play the frustration of Cheryl because we're frustrated in life so many times because, we don't get the same treatment. I have to teach my boys that if a police officer, pulls you over, now that they're starting to drive, but my older son drives, the 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, say you're going to reach for your ID, it's all a frustration building up for decades and centuries. And we just, if you have a platform like I do, this is the type of awareness that I want to bring.
Garcelle, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you come to the panel so we can explore more of these topics.
Sit in with us,
I would love it. You guys are so fun.
Yeah, we need you here. So DBL Nation, you can watch Black Girl Missing March 4th on Lifetime. And you can go to blackandmissinginc.com to learn more about the foundation and how you can help.
Excellent.
We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good work.
Bye.
We typically don't even think about breathing, but some recent headlines about gas stove emissions and worries over toxic chemicals in the air, or even just this early onset allergy season, might have you thinking a little bit more about the quality of the air you breathe. A viewer asked us about the health benefits of using an air purifier. We turned to several sources to verify yes, but its effectiveness depends on the type of air purifier, what kind of pollutants you're dealing with, and where you put it. Since the Environmental Protection Agency warns filter-free air cleaners can generate high amounts of lung-irritating ozone, the EPA instead says to start by looking for air purifiers with a HEPA filter.
But it does need to run rather continuously for it to be effective.
Dr. Anjani Keswani says it should be running at least whenever people are in the room, and the filter should be rated to properly filter the size of the room it's placed in. Research shows air purifiers can help remove harmful gases from the surrounding air, but in that case, old-fashioned ventilation is probably more effective. The devices are best at catching the slightly bigger tiny particles floating around in your home, like allergens, dust, fungal spores, and emissions. There's strong evidence that helps reduce asthma symptoms in children, but the World Health Organization says household air pollution can lead to serious health problems for anyone. Dr. Keswani points out, though, people live life outside the home too, so it's a bit tough to study specific health benefits of a purifier in the house, though research does show cleaner air is healthier air.
We think a lot about air pollution as affecting the lungs and the nose and maybe the sinuses as well, but there's actually a huge amount of literature on how particulate matter affects heart attack risk and stroke risk.
Research shows the portable purifiers are more effective because they don't just rely on heat or AC kicking in to work. We have more information on the research and findings on our website. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
It's that time of year when Girl Scouts start selling cookies to raise money for their troops. A tweet with more than 100,000 views claims there are two different versions of the famous cookies depending on where you live. So, let's verify. Our sources are the Girl Scouts of the USA and Girl Scout cookie makers, ABC Bakers and Little Brownie Bakers. It turns out there are two bakeries that are licensed to make Girl Scout cookies. They're required to produce a type of chocolate mint cookie, a shortbread cookie, and a peanut butter sandwich cookie. but they use different recipes and sometimes even different names. For example, both bakeries make Thin Mints, but use different ingredients, and they look slightly different. Little Brownie calls its peanut butter cookie a do-si-do, but ABC calls it a peanut butter sandwich. The bakers can also create their own unique varieties or play off of their rivals. You might know this cookie as a caramel delight made with milk chocolate, but in some places it's called a Samoa, and it's made with dark chocolate. Local Girl Scout councils decide which bakery to partner with and which types of cookies their troops can sell. So, yes, Girl Scout cookies are different based on where you live. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. We all make excuses to get out of exercising. Is this written for me, Mom?
I put that in the
Yeah, what's going on? But did you know there are steps you can take to make it something you actually look forward to? It's time for some joint and muscle support brought to you by Omega XL. First, enhance that environment. Get out of your dark basement and let in some natural light to improve your mood. I hung Christmas lights, twinkle lights. Next, try habit stacking. This is great by matching exercise with normal tasks like checking your email, brushing your teeth. So you use these habits to then trigger, oh, I have to go now exercise. And finally, take a lighter approach and focus on how it makes you feel rather than stressing about your results. Omega XL has improved the lives of millions of consumers, supported by 30 years of clinical research. Omega XL's powerful and proven benefits have transformed the lives of athletes, celebrities, and dedicated daily users. So call 1-800-813-6801 or visit OmegaXL.com for more information. I didn't know if you all know, but today is Praise Tory Day. Just kidding. It is the day of unplugging. All right. This is the annual awareness campaign. It's been running since 2009. It's a 24-hour period where you should put your devices down and take the time to unplug, relax, reflect, get outside, and connect with loved ones. I'm reading all about Henry David Thoreau and Walden and how much ecstasy he found in just nature.
Well, he didn't have the internet.
He didn't have the internet.
Yeah. I would love to see that now.
Jeff, wake up.
We unplugged Jeff.
David Thoreau?
I didn't know he was
I'm going to do that today. I'm very excited about it. I have a girls' day with one of my girlfriends, Debbie. It's her birthday coming up.
Happy birthday, Debbie!
And we decided that we were going to unplug and do like a serenity, like all the things.
Was this because of the day of Unplug?
No, it just so happens. But you know, I've been very aligned lately.
Yes, you have.
Listening to my spirit.
Yes, you have.
You were going to the spa. You were going to have a spa day anyway, and it happened to align with Unplug. Don't act like, yeah, we planned this out.
Hey, do you want to fly to Denver for Unplugged Day?
Yes. I'm going to be in a sauna, so I can't take my phone in there.
I need it. You do need it. You earned it. You deserved it. That's absolutely right.
There's
and you know
red carpet over here.
Oh, please. All of you also deserve a good spa day or unplug day. Try and focus on something ordinary that makes you smile.
Read Henry Thoreau.
Okay. All right, fine. DBLs do every day. We'll see you Monday. Be good to yourself. And to Tori. Be nice.
Unplug.
Unplug.
Henry Thoreau.